took a moment there. Okay. I don't know. So I haven't thought through too hard yet, but I'll do a quick intro, I guess. I'm gonna ask you to do like the 4 or 5 sentence TV guide summary, basically, of
Oh,
what you saw. So
sure.
and then we'll just get into it a bit. I don't know if you saw the notes I sent you or not, but it's neither here nor there. Although I'm gonna bring them up on my own computer before we start. Yeah, I woke up. It was like 7:46 here. I'm like, I could sleep till a bit after. I was like, wait, crap, no, I can't.
Yeah, no, we promised to do this, so
Yes.
I'm here for it.
Okay, but that's my other reason for being slightly discombobulated, because I just woke up by accident.
Okay.
And it's like, what would it be in American temperature? It's like 23 degrees around here, so I'm gonna put this shirt on.
Oh, I've you're gonna get some noise from the space heater I've got in the floor.
Same here. Okay.
This is fine.
Okay, so I'll just start rapping then.
Okay.
Straight out Compton. Hey, this is Audio Hygiene. It's the podcast where we get into educational films, avant-garde films, weird documentaries, and the like. This is Matt. Who are you?
I'm Andrew. Nice to be here.
Yeah, and maybe we'll listen back and there'll be like some awesome intro that we always do that's not here because this is our first recording. But
Sure.
I didn't think things through like that far, but yeah, I've always had a weird obsession of throwing on educational films and making other people watch them, as you well know.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do, and I hope that we'll get a little bit of an insight as to why that is.
Yeah, I just show up at parties and start. I was watching one of our films like here, right? So
Oh, nice.
I have discs upon discs of this stuff. I don't think they release so much of it anymore, but like in the early 2000s, you could just find these things all over the place.
Yeah, no, I'm not even sure how many of the, thousands of those things that were made, how many of them were just like thrown in the garbage, or just tossed out when video came around,
Yeah, I guess
So,
a lot of these things are on YouTube now, which is the point
Yeah.
here. Like if we're talking about it, you should not, maybe the quality is like not the best, but you should be able to find it on YouTube if we're talking about it.
yeah.
And today is your job fitting in. So of course an important thing to do. So Andrew, can you give us maybe like the 4 or 5 sentence TV guide summary of this one?
Sure. I think this one was made in about 1969, and this is the do's and don'ts of how to act and fit in when you get a new job. And so it is split up into the do and the don't, but they left out it's split up into the don't and the don't, but they left off the do part. Like there's no real indication of what you should do at work in this one.
Yeah, it's like my high school photography teacher. He'd always say, well, mentally you don't want to be like, don't close the door. It's better to say keep the door open, right? Because then you're hearing keep the door. That's what you're actually hearing. Whereas if you hear, don't close the door, you're still hearing close the door. So
Yeah. No,
this one's definitely telling you to close the door.
Yeah. No, I had never seen this one before, which will be the case for most of these.
Oh, even for me, this one is straight up on YouTube, and I think I first saw it last week, and I was like, oh, that's a good one. It's kind of fun. It's I want to save a few of my big guns for a little down the line, but
Yeah, okay.
But I thought this would be fun to start because we got was it Lloyd and what's the other Stan? Lloyd and Stan. So
Right.
What was it? Was it Highlights magazine where they used to have Goofus and Gallant?
And that is exactly what I thought of when I began watching this. And I assumed that after we watched, Lloyd was the lazy guy, right? The one who didn't pay attention, at the first guy that they, on the job, fitting in. This is the way for, it starts out where, the boss is basically saying, Lloyd, we're going to have to let you go. You just don't fit in. And so he then runs down the line of all the things that he did that made him not fit in at work, which is he was terrible. He didn't have any interest in the job whatsoever. He sucked at it, and his attitude toward it sucked. He was somewhere between Ron Livingston in Office Space, and after he decided he didn't give a shit about anything. And yeah, Goofus. But it was just really interesting the way they did him. And I assume, okay, now we're gonna see what he should have done. We're gonna see the gallant part. They didn't really give us that.
No, Stan sucks harder.
He's
I mean,
worse.
I mean, at least you could probably party with Lloyd. He'll just sit
Lloyd
there in the
seemed,
corner.
yeah, I mean, people that see it are going to relate to Lloyd. What's going to happen is when they see Stan, they're going to be like, "Oh God, Stan works at the place I do."
I said Lloyd needs to be like hot rodding, around Big Sur and musing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you can tell he, I mean, it's interesting because these movies were really made um around the pre-counterculture times of the late 60s, and this was like right on the edge. So it's got that goofy setup of the old ones, but it sort of addresses counterculture with the character of Lloyd, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. And the people who suck harder are all the coworkers. I mean, this is who wants to work in this office. I think I do own Ken Kiefer's Paisley shirt. I'm pretty sure it's in this closet here. Oh, mine's long sleeve, which is cooler. His was short sleeve, but I noticed that. I should have worn that for this. Oh well.
Yeah, no, that would have been great. That would have been, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. I may not have even made the connection, honestly.
Okay, we'll talk about it. I'll make that happen as you. I don't know. Why don't you tell us about the HR guy with no eyebrows?
Oh God, what's interesting here is that people usually when they watch these movies, these old educational films, they're laughing at them. But the honest truth is that these people that made these movies really thought they were helping people. I mean, they honestly really thought that this was going to make people's lives better and it were going to make people happier. Like you're going to be happier at your job if this is the way you are. You're not going to be happy at your job and probably going to lose your job if you act like this or this. I honestly have to say the HR guy, it's an archetype that hasn't really changed that much. We can say we know a guy or identify a little with Lloyd, and we can say we know a guy maybe that's like Stan, but but the HR guy, he's like timeless, I think.
Yeah, but those eyebrows, man. Who did he remind me of? He definitely reminds me of a more modern actor.
I don't know. I got a little bit of like David Cross meets Frank Oz with that guy.
Yeah, except that guy has eyebrows. Yeah, here we go. Found that Paisley shirt.
That's rocking. That's so good. Have you worn that on stage ever? I feel like I recognize it.
I think I probably wore it on stage the last time we did a gig.
Oh man, okay. That might be why I recognize it.
Yeah. So let's see what else I got. I got Jack Marks, Tool, Paul Sucks, product manager. So yeah, that was him.
Yeah, I was shocked by Stan, actually. I was shocked that this would be a stereotype that would have existed back then, because honestly, by the time I was in the workforce, they called people like Stan go-getters, and this was more of an attitude they kind of wanted you to have. Like I don't know, a lot of educational films seem to or from that period of time anyway, seem to stress conformity equals happiness. And so if you fall in line, you read the employee handbook, you do all these things, you don't ask too many questions, you don't, but now they want like innovators and stuff. And so it's weird kind of how Stan has circled back around to not being such a don't.
I think actually in Japan he's pretty much a don't.
Okay. I wish I could say the same for here.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I mean,
still works.
Yeah, there's a fine line. I mean, he was being a dick. He was second guessing everything everybody did. And I knew a guy who, instead of doing actual work, went around and like talked to everybody about their work and tried to make everything better, but he never actually did anything. I was like, man, he's got it locked up, doesn't he?
Well, at my current job, I rarely go to the main school just for meetings, right? And I usually work at a different place, so I do find myself often when there's a few minutes at the main school having nothing to do and like talking crap when people probably have something better to do. But
oh gosh,
I'm about to leave. I'm about to leave anyway, so.
Yeah, no, there is a part where he's shown, like, they say he's wasting his coworkers' time by standing there and talking to them. And yeah, I've also worked with people who are excellent at keeping you. They want to see how long they can, like it's a game to them how long they can keep you from your job.
Yeah, I mean, occasionally I'm talking. Oh crap! I probably should shut up now. I mean, Lloyd's main problem is all those questions. If he wasn't asking so many annoying questions, he'd probably be good to go. He's a dreamer, man. He's not part of your system.
That's true. That's true. And it's just odd that it kind of. I mean, earlier I said that Lloyd may have been sort of indicative of counterculture or more of like their way of representing that or sort of speaking to that, because times were, they're quite different than they were when the educational films were in their boom. And I think that it's possible that having Stan in there too, they're like, okay, it's okay to not conform, but this is like a nonconformist attitude that's really not helpful. I mean, would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, I mean Lloyd's Shakespearean fatal flaw is that he's stupid. If he could just figure it out on his own, he'd be fine.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no, I know. I don't know. Like, I sat there thinking, because I've been in management too, and I was sitting there thinking, all right, I know I would hate Stan, and I know I would be angry at Lloyd, but I wouldn't necessarily hate him. I would just wonder why he's working at all.
Well, the
Yeah.
Office Space reference I put down is Stan needs to be on the receiving end of that fax machine beatdown.
Stanley Soga. Yeah, no, he would, if he became the boss, he would definitely institute flair, I think.
Oh, right, yeah, of course. A little slightly different, but that's cool. Although I did notice watching it last night. So I've watched this twice. I noticed that Stan seems to have designed the saucer section of the Enterprise. That's what they show his page. I'm like, that's the Enterprise saucer section. It's probably a wheel or something, but
Probably. Yeah, no, that was interesting to see the drawings. I thought a great way, a great insert shot, if you wanted to make this into a comedy, would just be, put like a naked woman instead of the blueprints. To see he's drawn a naked woman.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Oh, they make the big deal about time cards. I've screwed up my time card a few times, but it's in Japanese, so I think I can get away.
Yeah,
like,
no, you are. He doesn't want to wait in the line to punch out, so he just doesn't.
They got several, English speaking workers, but you still have to choose the correct kanji when you punch in and out.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's your money, so you may want to learn that one.
Yeah, I think I've only screwed up once or twice, but one of my other coworkers, I guess he's Lloyd with Stan's can-do attitude, but I know he regularly forgets his time card.
I don't know. That was one thing I was thinking. I was like, which of I know I don't fall into either category, but what side do I lean toward? And I definitely lean toward Lloyd, I have to say.
Yeah, my notes definitely do that, because I just started going on beatnik ramblings about him, where Stan, I just want to kick his ass. So
Right. Yeah, I don't identify. I mean, there's something to be said, right, for trying to come up with newer and better ways, but that's not the like sole identity of someone who works. Ultimately things have to get done.
The other thing that Lloyd does that does make him an idiot, so we can't really like him too much, is he passes the buck, right? You don't do that. That is being a dick. So
I'm trying to. No, go ahead.
Like, if he didn't ask all those questions and he didn't throw blame over, he could easily just be like a shadow there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's best. Sorry, what do you have?
No, I was gonna say, another thing that I thought was pretty cool was that because this is made in '69, which again I believe was right on the cusp of when these movies changed from being like the old style, which was just very kind of like like instructional, more of like, this is how you live, this is how you will be happy. Like there was no middle ground, to being more of a verite style, which is more like the ones that came in the early '70s and mid '70s. There was 2 black people in this one.
I mean, in the Office, just background. The one guy had the line, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, and the secretary or something, like she was presented as being in a position of authority of some kind, And because when they go around with Lloyd saying this person does this, this person does this, this person does this, and of course later they're showing him like, hey man, who does that? Where do I go for that? Like he didn't, he was just like, I mean, he was probably writing poetry in his head, or,
But yeah, I think by the late 60s they were like kind of going out of their way to at least put like a little bit of variety on screen.
Yeah, that was one of the big differences I noticed from some of the older ones that I've seen, and it kind of gives away the time period a little bit, which is I thought cool, because you wonder, like, kids are seeing this in class probably up through. I mean, if it was made in '69, they were definitely seeing it maybe up in even until like the early '80s before videotape.
Right. So I guess it's kind of, I guess like a Sesame Street had sort of the same thought when it started, just where they wanted to have the multi-ethnic cast and so forth, and
Yeah, no, it was that I thought was kind of cool about it, because you don't want to. What I was saying while you're getting this shirt is that you don't want to completely dismiss this stuff as like inept filmmaking, or really stupid, or being made by idiotic people. They were actually, uh, they knew what they were doing. They had an idea, and they were, I feel, genuinely trying to help people, even if the way they went about it was sometimes a little skewed. Like, I'm gonna harp on the ending of this thing. Not once do people get an example of what they want the ideal worker to be. It's just of what not to do. But they at the end, what do they say? They show no eyebrows again, and he's sort of talking while the narrator's going, and you see like the handbook. So it's like, do this and do this, but it's very like, just, hey, before we completely end, make sure you do these things. But it's not even an instruction. I want an example of how to be a good worker if I'm going to watch this, right?
You got to watch his coworkers. They've all got it together. They make no mistakes.
I
It's
guess
a
so,
perfectly
right?
oiled machine. These guys are just the wrench.
Yeah, no, true. I guess that's a great point. If you want to see how to act, watch everybody around these guys, because they try not to punch Stan in the face, and you can see that they really want to.
But yeah, you're asking me what's the charm of these. To me, part of it is a feature production. There's always some pretense. The set design's been really well thought out.
Yeah.
You got actors with some notable egos, and I'm sure you do in some of these. But just the filters out for most of the educational films. Like,
Oh,
I feel like
sure.
you're getting an actual. Like, I feel like you get more of an actual window into 1969 here than you would say in Easy Rider, right? Which isn't
Oh,
wasn't.
yeah. No, that's a good point, because you think about the actors you see in these things. I don't think anybody that you might have seen later in television or film is going to show up in these. These people were making like $20 for the whole day. They,
Community service.
yeah, yeah, community service, conditions of parole. I mean, they were not, there was that was the whole point, was they couldn't seem phony. They had to seem more like real people. And as far as the productions themselves were concerned, it was, yeah, very utilitarian, but you can't sell the idea of the real world and how to act in the real world if the people watching it don't buy this as reality. And having actors and getting too dramatic is just going to blow that whole thing out.
And yeah, at least up through the 80s. I guess that once you get to the 90s, regular people do have more production tools, so it doesn't hold quite as true. But all the way through the 80s, it's pretty much what you're getting with these films.
Yeah, no. And you're supposed to look at him and go like, hey, that looks like somebody I know. Hey, that is somebody I
Yeah.
know.
I mean, if say you were making, if one of us were making something like this now, not that we'd be making your job fitting in, I think, but we would be putting a little more pretense and trying to think, oh, how can I art this out a bit, which they really weren't doing when they made this, because they only have so many feet of film, they only got so much time, they don't have digital tools or any of that. So
Yeah, and it's a good point to make that I'm not the expert on this, but I would venture to guess these things were produced far outside of Hollywood and the studio system.
yeah, I don't think this is one, but I know as we do this, Lawrence, Kansas is definitely going to come up
Oh,
as
okay.
one of the centers.
Midwest. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Okay, that makes total sense.
I don't think I'm going to ask this question for every film because it's pretty clear for the next one. But who was the intended audience for this? Did you think they were shown in like high schools or what?
It's hard to say, because I would say on average, educational films were being shown to kids in classrooms. But I'm trying to think of who would be the ideal audience for fitting in on the job. And I'd have to say probably high school, like seniors,
Yeah.
people that they presumed as going to go into the workforce without any prior workforce experience, and presumably going into like office jobs. This, I would say, probably 10, 11, 12th grade.
And I guess in '69 it was a little more common to finish high school and go straight into an office job. So
I mean, that's how you have a happy life. That's
yeah,
conformity.
because now you go to college or you end up in the McDonald's or something, right?
I mean, I was just reading an article today how like an MBA is like not something people want anymore. Like exactly kind of what it means to employers, what an MBA kind of means. And it just means that they've been to school but not been to work.
Right. Yeah. I guess for me, one of the things that I well, one of the reasons I live in Japan, I just somehow dodged the crippling student debt thing. So
Yeah,
that
no,
gave
that
me
is
the ability to do what I wanted, right?
yeah, you got to kind of wonder sometimes when whose agenda are they really pushing these movies? You follow the money or lack of, and see who the producers are, and it's like, well, McGraw-Hill, they sold textbooks, so the books were, or the movies were there to help sell them the textbooks. But you get into like ones that are sponsored by corporations and stuff, and you're like,
Yeah, you got Monsanto, which there are some Monsanto films on the list, I'm pretty sure. So
oh god, I didn't know that.
yeah. Well, Disneyland, when it opened, or a couple years after it opened, had Monsanto's House of the Future.
Monsanto's House of the Future.
Okay,
Do you like your molecular structure change after you come out of it?
it was open for a few years and it was like made completely of plastic, and like they couldn't knock it down. It just was like sitting in a abandoned corner of Disneyland because the wrecking ball just like bounced off because it was like because it was flat.
I'm not surprised to hear that, but what a great image.
So eventually they had to spend a bunch of money and go and just like basically rip it apart by hand.
I mean, you don't want to melt it. I mean, what would that release? I don't even want to think about it.
But yeah, I guess we're wrapping up your job. So you want to give them your Twitter handle or whatever?
Oh, sure. My name is Andrew Shearer. You can find me on Twitter at Gonzorific, GONZORIFFIC. That's also my Instagram account, and gonzorific.com as well if you want to buy some movies that I've made. I have made an educational film very recently, and it is on YouTube. It's called Wash Your Face, or Wear Your Mask, Wash Your Hands. And it's not super educational at all. It's just got a girl jumping around on a bed wearing a low-cut dress and wearing a Misfits mask. But
Okay.
you get the idea.
A lot of people want to see that too. So
okay,
probably more people.
Yeah, my handle's the same on YouTube. Then GONZORIFFIC.
This is literally the first recording. I started a audio hygiene pod Twitter account. I haven't done anything to it yet, but there'll probably be something there. I'll probably have something on Facebook if you want to hang out there. Of course, my other podcast is Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary, which, oh God, now I got to do the letters. You know how problematic this is for me. At MLSFS Pod, which is on Twitter and Facebook. And now if you do go there on Twitter, you are talking to me because Luke gave up the Twitter for the year.
He did.
Yeah. Last year he stopped drinking, made it the whole year without drinking. So I guess this year he's like, I'm not scrolling down any screens, which is probably actually that's probably better than not drinking.
This particular period of time might be best to give up Twitter. Yeah, because you'll that's going to be a time suck and a soul suck and just a plain old suck, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm Twitter immune because I just go and post directly to shows, and if someone says something, I might give them a response. So
I mean they say engagement is the key. So the more you participate in discussions and threads that are interest you, the more you have a presence, then people follow, then people listen. But man, that's almost like that's taking up as much time as it would to record a podcast, possibly longer.
Yes. Anyway, the lesson is finished today for this podcast, so y'all have a groovy one. So I'm gonna hit record, stop recording.